Last year we became like 4th, so this year obviously after changes we want to make it known for being good, not for being inconsistent. I knew like for like 2 years now. I've been playing with him before the LCS.
I got a proposition and I just thought for a second that this is the best thing that I could do.
Ullard is different because like mechanics are his strength, so he'll always go in and do some crazy stuff.
I was thinking a bit about what I wanted to do, and when I decided that I wanted to come back then, it motivates you more to practice when you get to play on stage, and it's just a great feeling.
In my opinion, this guy is like super smart and he knows the game very well, and I love to play with him.
I wanted to try something new, so everyone agreed on me moving to the top lane.
Overpower actually catching Kevin here, waiting for those cooldowns to come back up. There's the dive in.
But he played a lot of top lane in solo queue. He's kind of familiar with the lane.
He's doing much better than he expected, and he likes his new role now.
For me, at least speaking the whole day English, it's actually like a bit exhausting.
They are speaking English most of the time. Fly is making sure that they all speak English.
We can understand each other and it's not a hard language.
We don't want to be top 4, we want to be top 3, go to Worlds and finally see how it is.
Everything except first top 3 is like fail for us.
Alrighty guys, I'm standing here with ROCCAT's manager Fly to talk a little bit more about his team. Now Fly, you guys have made some roster changes a little bit after really none at all for a long time. You've added Nukeduck in the mid lane. How has that really affected the team's dynamic?
Well, the team dynamic changes completely because we had to switch from Polish to English. But happily, the whole team is adapting really fast to it. We had no problems with switching the language in general, and we tend to speak only in English, so Nukeduck doesn't feel cut off from the team.
Well, it's certainly one way to get some new blood into the LCS, and of course on your team you've made this decision, you've really wanted to get it maybe a little bit more action for this next couple of games. So we'll see if you can maybe pull up this next win. So far, you're down 1. It didn't quite work out yesterday. What do you have to change up here to make it a little bit different?
I think yesterday we just didn't feel comfortable in the beginning of the game, so that's pretty much what we need to change. We just need to feel again comfortable on stage, playing against those big teams, getting back into the LCS, and we will be fine.
Well, thank you very much for that. Now we're going to toss it back to Trevor and Martin to get into the game.
Thank you very much, Devin. It is time for ROCCAT versus Gambit. Yesterday, we saw disappointing performances from both of these veteran teams, despite the fact that there were actually high expectations on both of them coming into this one. Fly talking a lot about comfort for ROCCAT. Let's take a look at that lineup really quickly. We heard, of course, the entire team is now speaking English instead of their native Polish. Overpower leading the way in the top lane. Jankos in the jungle. Nukeduck is going to be playing in mid with Woolite and Vanda as the AD carry and support. And yesterday, they really wanted to get Nukeduck fed. That was the strategy. It was very clear, and it didn't work out.
No, it was a little bit too easy for SK Gaming to spot the tactic and just have the castle in the mid lane play very safe instead of being over-ganked by ROCCAT here. We had Overpower coming in, we had Jankos coming in. Nothing really worked for them. In the very end, SK Gaming out-rotated them. Took the first tower in the lane swap, went back down to the bottom lane with Forgiven and then raided. And I feel like we didn't get to see ROCCAT play at all because they fell behind early on. The tactic failed for them. And that was about it because they tried to fight, but they were just too far behind to do anything. Yeah, another team that did something similar was Gambit Gaming. They fell behind early, picked some dragon fights they shouldn't have. Let's take a look at their lineup really quickly. It is, of course, Cabashard in the top lane. Diamond back in the jungle. Nick in the mid lane with Pinoy, AD carry, Edward on support. And, you know, Gambit, they struggled against Unicorns of Love. They fell behind. They tried to force that dragon fight in the mid game. And after winning IEM Cologne, I expected a lot more from them, and they just simply did not deliver against Unicorns of Love. They completely gave up the ghost once they tried to chase down that dragon and got shut down. Yeah, so actually the problem started a lot earlier in the game than just the dragon fight. Of course, there was a bad decision, but the tactic from Gambit was basically Diamond would be camping Cabashard's lane in the top lane from basically level 3, and he did nothing. He sat up there, made sure there was no ganks happening, but he didn't do anything. He didn't dive onto Gnar, didn't do anything. Just ended up 0-5 as well, picked up Skirmisher's Saber, didn't manage to do any or get any fights, any ganks. Rest of the lineup fell behind as well and had a very slow scaling comp with Cassiopeia and Kassadin from the 2 soul laners. And Unicorns of Love just ran full hard engage in 28 minutes and the game was over.
Yeah, but that was the same problem from ROCCAT. ROCCAT tried to get Jankos to get involved. I mean, Jankos and Diamond, both of these junglers, we have such high expectations from them. The Stalkers Lee Sin didn't work out. Skirmishers Lee Sin, rather, just didn't work out at all. And neither Gambit nor ROCCAT really found a groove. Now, both of them 0-1. One of these teams is going to at least pick up a confidence win here today, but they need to do a whole lot more to try and silence any of the naysayers, because yesterday was just simply not good at all. We did just catch a quick glimpse of the coaches just before I hand over to you, and that is, of course, Jordan standing behind Gambit, and it was Ducky who was standing behind ROCCAT. We'll get to picks and bans in a moment.
The thing is, we have to remember, only one game has been played for both the teams. And if you look at last year, they were both fairly inconsistent in their performance. Like, you would have great games for Gambit and ROCCAT, and then the next day they would just go in and get destroyed in 25 minutes. So them losing game 1, both having a tactic early game that completely failed, which of course involved their 2 junglers, doesn't necessarily mean they're bad teams. And I think this game here, both of them are going to play a lot better. And I don't think we're going to see that one-dimensional tactic of just, hey, let's camp one lane, and if you don't succeed, we're going to lose the game.
Well, big words. You're expecting more to Fisho. The teams need to prove that they can give more. Straight out the gate, Cassiopeia banned. That is, of course, targeting Gambit. Zed taken off the table from Nukeduck. Won't be too surprised to see more assassin bans away from Nukeduck. Also, keep in mind, Sejuani was taken off the table yesterday by the Unicorns of Love. They did not want Diamond to run his pocket pick. Whether or not he still feels it's viable on 5.1, we'll find out.
He seems to be the only jungler still playing it, and was, of course, the guy who really showed it during IEM Cologne back in December. Rek'Sai once again being banned, not really much of a surprise. Kassadin, after being first picked a few times yesterday, has now suddenly become a ban in the games today. And it's not a surprise, he's a very strong pick, but I feel like there are stronger options. Again, Lissandra has more impact on the game, and Gnar, of course, we have seen time and time again. Janna is going to be left open, Thresh being banned away, so she could be a potential first pick for ROCCAT here, seeing as they want to take Thresh away from Eddie.
Well, Europe once again showing we've, as a region, had some interesting tastes when it comes to picks and bans.
Very different compared to China and Korea.
Siva as an example from last year, champion that we never played. But let's quickly get back to this. LeBlanc,
wow, Azir was left open.
Azir, insta lock-in. We saw Overpower playing it at IEM, but it is, of course, a flex. It could go mid, it could go top. We're anticipating it in Overpower's hands, though.
And this pick is so strong overall. Good laning phase, good mid game, and great late game coming in, both in the mid lane and in the top lane here. ROCCAT didn't even think about it, just instant locked Azir straight away. If they take a Xerath as well, you have an insane siege poke comp build up already. If you just add in some peel, Janna sadly for them being taken away by Gambit, so smart enough realizing we can't give them Janna and Azir at the same time.
Well, Gnar is still available if Cabochard wants to run it. We'll see what he decides to lock in. The pill, the pick, well, let's get back to this. The siege is the word I was looking for, Deficio, has been locked in with that Xerath. They've got some more burst in the background for Graves. So ROCCAT have got all of their carries locked in already. And we need to see what Jankos decides to run in the jungle. Lee Sin is available, as is Elise. Yeah. Jankos played Lee yesterday. It left a lot to be desired.
2 very good answers from Gambit. First of all, taking Janna, avoiding that massive disengage for ROCCAT. And of course the Jarvan to engage on the Azir, on the Xerath here, because both those champions, if you cannot get to them in the back line, they'll just destroy you in a matter of seconds. You have to be able to lock them down. We saw a Xerath yesterday for like Feb event, how well he performed in the team fights, just sitting back. Elements could never get to him, he sniped up everyone. Same thing can be done here by Nukeduck. So we have to see if Gambit want to add in some more engage together with Jarvan here to kind of follow up whenever he goes in. Gnar again is an option. Fizz would be another one to follow in once he gets that Hourglass.
Well, you've got some more engage. Throw down the chum in the waters. Have some backup from Jarvan. That might be a way in onto a fairly immobile Xerath. That is locked in. This should also be the first Corki of the spring split in Europe. I can't recall seeing one yesterday. Changes to the Valkyrie in 5.1. Yeah. We'll see how Pinoy can handle himself. Of course, Graves taken off the table, which Pinoy ran yesterday.
Corki's basically picked just as a wave clear machine in here. Cive would also have been an option for Gambit, but that's just going to be purely wave clear when you have the Fizz already, a champion who can safely wave clear if you're pushing up on a tower, which actually is going to be a very risky pick for Gambit. If they fall behind, Nick won't be able to do anything in these fights here, and he won't be able to assist his team either defending towers, and ROCCAT can just start taking them down with Azir and Xerath. And one of the reasons they pick Graves, it could be because we're going to see a lane swap, where you have the Azir combined with Vander now on potentially a Nami, so you have this double ranged 2v2 lane that is extremely hard to deal with. And then Graves is one of the best AD carries in terms of one-on-oneing the enemy top laner if there is going to be a lane swap from ROCCAT. They do have a very strong bottom lane though coming in as well.
So Lee Sin is once again locked in for Jankos. You're going to have Nami for once again engage, disengage, peel. A lot of mobility, a lot of range on the side of ROCCAT, and I quite like the fairly well-rounded composition. They can do a lot of things with the champion combination. The question for Gambit, who do they want to lock in? We assume that's going to be Fizz in the mid lane. Who do they want to put up
will
top?
be.
Gnar is still up. Gnar is still available.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Cabashard wants it into.
Maokai would have been great right here, but obviously he's disabled. He and 5.1 at least for this week. So now could be an option for Cabashard just to kind of follow up, or Yasuo to jump in with the jump.
What are we?
Eddie has hovered over a few troll picks before.
Question is, what
so
are we
I'm waiting to
missing
see.
for Gambit? They've got damage, they've got magic. There's not a whole lot of physical locked in. And the final change going to be Aurelia. So there's some more physical damage and true damage. Tenacity will help against what ROCCAT's put up. But
basically,
I'm not sure.
Gambit here decides to say, okay, let's try and invest a lot into the mid game with Aurelia coming in. We have the Jarvan already, and of course the Corki. Trinity Force, get your magic penetration for your big mid game power spike. So that's what Gambit is trying to do here. Try and get a lead in the mid game, make sure Nick then gets ahead on this Fizz so he can start actually assassinating people left and right, and making sure that ROCCAT never gets in a situation where they can just group up with Azir, Graves and Xerath and just start destroying your towers, because there's not enough wave clear on the side of Gambit to stop it if they fall behind. So we can see Jankos as well put a lot of focus on Nick in this mid lane.
So Gambit once again going for a team composition that is fairly reliant on their early to mid game. I do feel like when you look at what the two team comps can actually do, there's going to be more options available to ROCCAT. When you look at Gambit, they're a tad more focused just sort of on dive in on fight, whereas you've got some sieging potential, you've got some range, you've got things that ROCCAT can do. But it's going to come down to this laning phase and whether or not we're going to see those one-on-ones, 2v2s or swaps.
And then how ROCCAT can play the team fights, because they have a lot of peel, but you don't really have a tank. It's about Nami disengage. Of course, Lee Sin can peel for his carries, and Azir is great at peeling himself with his ulti. If they can manage to pull that one off and keep Azir and Xerath safe, they can win the team fights. Otherwise, though, running without a tank is a fairly squishy comp.
Well, there are the team comps on your screen right now. We've broken them down quite extensively. I feel like this is leaning towards ROCCAT. You guys at home, tell me if you share that opinion. Hashtag ROCKWin or hashtag GMBWin. Tweet them to us, and we will jump into our third game here of day 2 in the spring split. We are on to the Rift. ROCCAT and Gambit looking for redemption in a moment. Looking for redemption in a moment, guys. 3 for 3. We'll have a very brief pause. We'll let you know what's happening in just a second. A couple of crystalline flasks picked up on the side of Gambit. You can see those in the hands of Cabashard's Aurelia and, of course, Nick's Fizz.
The first few levels here for Gambit's solo laners, it's going to be about just trying to farm up and survive through your sustain with the Flask and Potion, because Azir and Xerath will be able to land a lot of poke onto you. And then if Jankos can actually be active on this Lee Sin, make sure those two solo laners have a good early game. I mean, then ROCCAT could just start grouping in the mid game and just destroying towers.
So we'll see if ROCCAT can actually get themselves into that position to group and go for those towers, like you say. I want to talk about Nukeduck playing Xerath. It's actually not a champion that you typically associate with Nukeduck as a player. When you think of him, you tend to think more of your assassins, your Fizzes, your Aries, your Zeds, things along those lines. And we think back to Primetime League, we think back to an interview that was done with Nukeduck fairly recently where he was saying, look, in the year out of the LCS, he's expanded his champion pool, he's included some more utility mages, some poke mages, some other styles of champions, and we'll have to see how he performs, because his LeBlanc yesterday fell behind. It never went anywhere, invested in that Soul Stealer and did nothing. He can't afford that same misplay here today.
No, I mean, if you do fall behind to Fizz in laning phase, it will become very, very bad for you. Because Fizz is not very strong when it comes to laning. Just farm for him. You want to go late game, you outscale a lot of the other assassins in the game, and you have this all-in potential even in a team fight because you can jump around with your Trickster, you have your Hourglass you will complete as well after the Lich Bane. So it's going to be all about shutting down Nicky in the lane phase. And this is an easier lane to play for Nukedog compared to LeBlanc Kassadin he played yesterday, which typically goes into the favor of Kassadin and obviously was relying on the camp from ROCCAT, which SK Gaming read like a book. Yeah, managed to cancel and thwart ROCCAT's plans. So we did have a mouse issue that has, in theory, been resolved. So we should be back into the game in just a moment or two. My eyes are also going to be on Pinoy's Corki. He's a champion that has sort of fallen out of favor in Europe, at least. We've been seeing Sivir, Graves, Sivir and Graves being the sort of go-to champions. And we are back into game. And we'll see if Pinoy can pull a Pinoy on a Corki instead of a Graves. And if he's going to have any mana problems in the lane because of the change. Adding 50 more mana to his W, his escape here, simply means 1 through 5 in the laning phase. You have to care a little bit about how you trade. Never running completely out of mana, but at level 6 he will still reach his start of his mid-game. Spike and of course Trinity Force will be completed for him around 15-60 minute mark. Then he becomes very strong. Wow, onto Vander here.
Good
Nick and Edward.
Down. Exhaust and Ignite is available for Nick and Edward.
Woolite join.
Decide not to commit. Now Woolites come in. Nick and Edward have gone very, very deep. Flash is still up. He's just going to get some poke down, but it's still very early on, so really nothing gained by either side just yet.
No, and ROCCAT didn't actually manage to trade deep wards here because Gambit just kind of brute forced the way in. Put a ward on the red buff and the crooks here to try and see if ROCCAT is lane swapping around or not. And on the other side for ROCCAT here, just placed the fairly standard wards in the river to kind of spot any kind of invade.
So let's see how this laning phase will get decided. Woolite and Vander showing themselves towards the top half of the map. Overpower still sticking around. Gromp at the moment. We'll see where he decides to go.
And Nick managed to pick up an extra potion from recalling here. And then joining in with the minion wave, so it will be nice for him. And there will be the lane swap from ROCCAT, as we talked about in Champs League with this Azir here. He's so hard to deny any farm because he can farm with his soldiers from very long range, and he can actually out-trade your AD carry early on as well. So Jankos, a little bit risky, but
managed to smite. Edward did the same thing yesterday, actually, when he was trying to interrupt the...
That was a Grump instead,
the Grump instead, but playing aggressive and almost making Jankos panic.
So Overpower starting Grump, gets level 2 for himself, teleports to the bottom lane, and it's actually just a 1v1 here. Pinoy did manage to get a small freeze, but again, Overpower can just farm with his soldiers. I mean, how are you going to deny him when he just puts the soldiers so far ahead of himself and stand there and getting this here? So we'll be actually a one-on-one lane here. Edward joining Cabochard very early.
So Edward is showing his presence all across the map. Cabochard jumps onto Woolite. Vander's only level 1. Going to use that heal to try and keep Woolite up, but Cabochard's taken a bunch of damage, and the sustain is in favor of ROCCAT.
Yeah,
so
it's pushing towards ROCCAT as well here. Managed to get the freeze started. Cabochard going in again.
Oh, a little bit aggressive.
Bubble.
In the bubble. This is in trouble. There's the exhaust down. Vander and Woolite trying to set something up. Vander's got forward. He gets it. Vanderlife with the kill.
Cabochard was not expecting a level 2 here from Vander, so he actually jumped in once again to land the stun. Vander got level 2, connects the bubble, finishing Cabochard here. Nice little play.
Manages to get first blood.
Instant teleport back.
Cabochard does go back up. And he's going to have a ward to play with.
But it's going to be so much harder for Cabochard to farm here, and he has to share XP with Edward. While look at the bottom lane. Overpower sitting at 13 CS already. Nothing is going to stop him. Pinoy can't do anything.
So Jankos playing Lee Sin, borrowing a page from Diamond's book.
Okay.
Skirmisher Saber picked up very early on. It did not work for Diamond yesterday, but if memory serves, it was the same matchup. Lee into Jarvan, however the other way around. So let's see if Jankos can make it work better for him this game.
Basically to be stronger in like one-on-one and 2v2 fights, because you get the 20% damage reduction from your smite now onto, let's say, the Jarvan if you find him. And of course you get a bit of true damage on him as well. That is the reason you buy it, so it requires you to actually look for these small fights early on and not just sit back and farm, a bit like we saw actually Diamond do yesterday, or at least try and camp a lane but not really do anything. Woolite?
Well, let's see. Knock
has
up
a dash
City.
and a flash.
Can it work? Slow is in play. The slide and glide. Woolite gets out.
That is keeping it cool.
And no panic at all. Woolite makes it out. 59% of you guys feel that ROCCAT's team comp is going to win. they are siding. I do think that ROCCAT's comp has more options available to it. And of course, they got first blood, so props to them.
Got the first blood and is currently doing just fine with their top laner. But Cabochard is actually left alone now because Diamond and Eddie tried to pull off the gank. Whoa,
Nuke is in so much trouble. He is going to flash, but look at ROCCAT. They've come to his aid. He gets the slowdown. Nuke is burning. He's still alive. He goes down. Finally, the double tick from Nick. Now we do see Elysium picking up a kill in the background. Jankos survives the fight because of the heal from Vanda. 1-for-1, mid lane is traded.
Yeah, 1-for-1 here, and Nuke was not expecting so many. Oh, Bottom
Diamond's in trouble.
Anyway.
Sonic Wave gets caught. Is Diamond going down? The shield is massive, but Vanda does not connect this time around. And that was a little risky and a little frisky by both of these teams.
A lot of fights early on here, both junglers being involved. Not just sitting and camping this time around. You go straight forward.
Manages to survive at least. Just having a drink of water there, sorry. Chalice picked up by Nuke Duck. Going to be working his way towards that Athenes. There's a fair amount of magic burst to survive from Nick's Fizz. And of course the lanes still in reverse. We haven't really looked at Overpower taking on Pinoy in this bottom lane. Overpower still farming quite well. Pinoy's got himself a CS advantage over his opposite number, Woolite. But of course there has been a little bit more drama and action up top.
A lot more action in the top lane, while bottom lane has just been a farm phase one-on-one. So Woolite did lose a bit of CS, and Cabochard actually came back just a little bit from the gank on Woolite beforehand, forcing him into recall. But still a big, big difference in terms of the top laners.
So we'll see how it works out or how it affects these guys. Early level 6 for Nick, just for Nuke Duck rather, just ahead of Nick. We need to see how Nick continues to play that matchup out. Pinoy taking a lot of damage from those concrete sands. Soldiers really giving him a difficult time, but he's farming well. He's still got his lead over his direct opposite number, albeit very, very close. And here's Woolite and Vanda, a lot of damage on his top tower.
Yeah, Yanker's also moving up here because there's such a big wave at the tower, and he's expecting Diamond to be nearby, so he wants to be here for the counter gang and potentially moving in to deny a bit of farm from Cabochard and Eddie. So they're still staying under this tower here. It's going to be a very hard dive.
If the bubble lands, they're going to go in. That's a double bubble. Edward goes down. Cabochard tries to turn it around, but the summoner heal saves Vanda. And now Chum the Waters in the mid lane. Here comes Diamond. Here comes Nick. Nuke Duck gets nuked. He does get the Arcano Pulse down.
Teleport from
Overpower. It's not going to
Overpower.
be enough. Overpower wants to join the fight. ROCCAT get the top tower. Let's flick to Overpower. Let's see. Conquering sands, shifting sands. Can the slide and glide work? He gets in. He's chasing Nick down. Here's the support coming from Vanda up top as well. Nick should be able to do this.
Should be able to.
Gets out clean, manages to execute, and that's a teleport blown from Overpower, but ROCCAT secured the tower up top.
So they got the tower top and a kill here due to a very nice bubble from Vanda, but instant reaction. Mid lane, you see how Gambit are putting all the focus on Nick here, making sure he gets ahead early on. 2 ganks from Diamond, 2 kills for Nick, so they should be fairly happy with that start, but they need to be careful these towers don't drop down too early, because that is a lot of global gold for ROCCAT, and they can keep doing this. Swap around, Overpower. If he goes one-on-one against Pinoy again, he will be able to poke down this tower slowly and just wait for the rest of the team to move down, kill the tower, get a big chunk of global gold all of a sudden.
Well, Pinoy, red buff steal, calculated somewhat, realizing he's quite safe. Velk's over the wall, and he's even going to back out very clean. So very smart play on that Corki. You did see that Vanda's had landed a lot of bubbles thus far, making that Nami do work. As long as he can get that CC down, ROCCAT have got a way to control some of the highly mobile champions in Gambit. 3 kills to 2, small gold advantage in ROCCAT's favor, and you can see those items. Warrior Enchantment already completed for Jankos thanks to those 2 kills, and already a stronger start to the game for Jankos, who really did struggle yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of the defensive wards work for both teams. On the top side for Gambit, with Cabochard up here and all the action being going on between the mid and the top lane. And of course defensive ping wards from ROCCAT to make sure Overpower can be safe and just keep pushing up. He puts his own little ward here in the bush next to, or well, where Diamond would come from the Grump and jump over the wall on Jarvan. So a very important ward for him. So you can just keep pushing up, get a few hits on the tower every single time. Now Vanda joins, Woolite can join, and you can just force down it. It's only Pinoy left here. This could be a tower for ROCCAT.
We'll see how hard they want to push. 3 members against 1. We do see Edward moving his way through the tri-bush in a moment or 2. But Overpower's backing up, so not an overly aggressive play.
No, the tower wasn't really low enough either. for him.
Look at the knockup. That's a lot of damage onto Woolite. Here comes Jankos from
Oh!
That's a great bubble! Vander, well done. Sonic Wave does not connect. Edward was able to sidestep it. And even with the collateral damage for closing, not enough for the kill.
And notice what Diamond had just done here. He's actually swapped his jungle item for Skirmisher Saber as well against Jankos here. So now both junglers really looking to duel each other and be part of these skirmish fights for the ganks. And that's of course what you can do on 5.1 now. You don't even have to pay anything extra.
Not this time round.
As long as you don't enchant
a couple of times actually. Well, let's see. Fight, Smite fight. Next joining in. Here comes Nuke Duck as well. Everyone's invited to the party. And Diamond is just going to use that flag and drag to save.
And the thing about this Skirmisher Saber late game, when you have the 2 smites, and you can actually use it in a team fight, don't have to save it for a Dragon or a Baron. 20% less damage, or 20, yeah, from like, let's say you use it on the 80 carry for Diamond when he jumps in. That's actually quite a lot of damage he removes from someone like Woolite. It's the Skirmisher Saber, so I quite like it, and I want to see.
We'll see if it makes a difference, because that's the trick.
For sure.
He's got to be able to get to that point.
Yeah, you don't have the Chilling Smite again, you don't have the Trailblazer 4 a bit faster, clear in the jungle either. And notice here, ROCCAT, as you mentioned in Champ Select, early on, you start grouping up, you start pushing down towers. Fizz is sitting there alone, he cannot go in and clear these minions here because ROCCAT is staying around, so there's a lot of damage on the mid tower.
So Diamond is coming in from the side. You do see the comp for ROCCAT leaning towards the playstyle, but they did this yesterday as well. Jankos and Overpower moving in to help out Nuke Duck to keep that playstyle going. Nick dives and dashes, makes it out, but he's low on HP, so got to be a little careful not to get caught by burst. So, what is happening elsewhere? Cabochard's pushing top. Woolite's down in the bottom lane. He's being held off by Pinoy. And Gambit simply not engaging, so ROCCAT pick up an uncontested tower.
Yeah, no chance to engage here. You split up in a 1-3-1 from Gambit's side, and your wave clear, or the wave clear you do have on the Corki, is sitting in the bottom lane one-on-one against Woolite, who's still getting quite a lot of damage on his tower here. So it should be 3 outer turrets gone very soon for ROCCAT. And that is a big goal lead getting this early on in the game.
We'll have to see if they can make use of it. ROCCAT have been proactive. They pushed top and pushed middle. They've gone for a couple of fights that are in their favor, and a lot of it stemmed from Vander's bubbles, so we've got to keep an eye on it.
And also the wards, again, the ping wards, we talked about it before, how to place these defensive pings to make sure Gambit is not able to flank around with the likes of a Jarvan here to get an engage when you're pushing up on these towers. So the wards on the flanks are going to be so important for ROCCAT the entire game long to make sure they can just stay and poke.
Well, Diamond spotted out by that ward, does manage to clear it out. We do see that Jankos was moving towards the top lane, trying to see if Overpower's Azir can get some damage down onto Cabochard. He's going to have that Emperor's Divide available to knock Irelia back, and all of the tenacity in the world isn't going to get you through a brick wall. So if Overpower can find an opportunity, maybe, but wisely, Cabochard backs away. And just keep an eye on those CS numbers. Cabochard behind his opposite number. Nick behind his opposite number. Only Pinoy has got a small advantage against his opposite number. But that has been cancelled out by the fact that ROCCAT have 3 towers now to their name.
Yeah, and you have Athene's completed on Xerath here. You're going to get Morel Nomicon on Azir as well. So you hit the first early power spike for these 2 mages. But once again, if ROCCAT does buy a few wards toward the flanks, they can start grouping up. I mean, Diamond is not tanky enough to engage at this point. Nick as well, he really wants to get the Outlast before you want to dive in there on a Fizz. So unless he can go for a safe kill, he won't really be able to do too much if there's a straight up team fight with ROCCAT grouping. And we can see Overpower already moving straight for his mid lane.
And with all of the burst on the side of ROCCAT, surely it's only a matter of time until Gambit picks themselves up a Locket. You really think it'll work against both the double AP comp and, of course, the burst that Graves is going to put down in a little while. Last red buff was actually stolen by Pinoy. Very smart little move, actually. Reading the map and opponent's movements. This one looks to be secured by Jankos. It looked like there was some presence in the mid lane, but neither team setting themselves up for a big engage just yet.
Well, let's see ROCCAT what they want to do around this dragon here. You need to get up a lot of wards before you can start it with so many squishy members. But because Eddie actually just recalled, and nobody's staying around except for Pinoy hiding down here, getting a bit of damage on Woolite, ROCCAT just sees the opportunity to go for it. But teleport from Cabochard. Will it actually be in time? Gage is coming in.
That's a great chum the waters. Nick has dove into the fight, but he's the first victim. Bubble goes up from Vandit, does not manage to connect, and the tidal wave's already been used. Cataclysm slam dunks the fish, turns him into sushi. Jankos kicks Diamond back. That's a Diamond in a rough position. Woolite continues to chase down Edward. Exhaust is ticking away, but Pinoy is the one that picks up the second kill for Gambit. Dragon goes the way of ROCCAT, 2 for 2 at the end of the day.
Yeah, 2 for 2 here. Engage coming in from Nick. That's what we talk about, the lack of hourglass. You don't really want to dive in there. Yes, you got a kill from it, or you got someone low, but you just get blown up instantly. Still, Gambit, they got a flank here. Actually managed to engage onto Nuke Dog and ROCCAT. Let's just see it one more time. So Nick and Diamond coming from the side onto Overpower first of all. Pinoy trying to join in, and of course Cabochard, who actually teleported quite far away. Nick goes down instantly. Diamond sees an opportunity, picks up Vander himself, and from now on, well, if Nuke Dog can manage to land him, or if Jankos can make the hero play, you get the kill onto Diamond in the very end though, because a nice ulti from Eddie actually knocking Jankos back. It should reward in another, or will, sorry, reward in another kill for Gambit. So 2 for 2, but Dragon in favor of ROCCAT and teleport used by Cabochard.
So Gambit continue to fall behind in gold, but they are a little closer than they were yesterday. At the very least, their fights are looking a little healthier. Nick found himself a decent engage. Burned a couple of flashes early from ROCCAT. Let's see if Nick can punish those flashes being down. He's got some damage. Lichbane completed. Warrior Enchant, Moby Boots completed for Diamond. Triforce almost done for Cabochard. And it's already been picked up for Pinoy. But Woolite grabbed himself those double buffs thanks to that previous fight. Actually, it looks like it's just the red bird. Let me see.
And while their
No, it
Trinity
is
Force is
blind.
great for Cabochard on Aurelia, a bit like their fist pick, he won't really be able to just dive onto the backline. He needs a tank item next year. You're gonna have to get that LOCCAT as well for Gambit here to try and lock down some of the magic damage coming from ROCCAT and their Zia and Xerath pick. So for now, ROCCAT still in the lead. Gambit want to try and push for this bottom lane tower. Vander is going to join in soon, but actually might be able to dive on Woolite.
So Woolite, can he get away? The answer is yes.
Should be a tower here.
Gambit did not actually go for the kill. They've got enough members to push this tower down. Diamond, he decides to throw the flag way out. Collateral damage used just a wave clear. Woolite and Vander have actually defended the turret. They did commit their ultimate to that, but I think that's fairly well played. Going to deny the global gold to Gambit and still keep them down.
As long as they can keep defending here, we have the Trinity Force completed for Pinoy, so he's feeling very strong at the moment. Just needs some magic penetration to really reach his mid-game power spike. And meanwhile, Nick and Nuke Dog fighting over Pink Ward. ROCCAT has kept these defensive Pink Wards, but because Diamond has this Corki pick now, they can keep sieging on his tower and pick it up. So nice little response from Gambit.
So Gambit do get the bottom tower, despite the fact that Woolite threw his ultimate down. We did catch a brief glimpse of Overpower throwing down his ultimate, the Emperor's Divide, against Cabochard. If you look at the cooldowns, I think you can assume Cabochard most likely dove onto Overpower. I don't really know if Overpower is going for the kill. Either way, ultimate is down. Those two continue to trade, and it's Cabochard that's falling behind in CS. Overpower not been with his team thus far, and we need to see how this Azir is going to impact the sieging or the team fighting that ROCCAT can put forward now that we start to hit this roaming tower-based mid-game.
Yeah, we see Static Shift again for Woolite here. Still something we see a lot instead of the Phantom Dancer, but in this situation it's purely because he wants the instant wave, he wants to burst as well, so you combine burst from a Zero from a Zia with the Graves coming in with the Static Shift and this earlier mid-game spike compared to Phantom Dancer. That is a little bit more expensive from him. Simply explaining his Static Shift, which again on Graves still makes a lot of sense for the
upfront burst.
Yeah.
Combo that Shiv with the buckshot and the collateral damage.
It just gives you less overall damage. If it's a longer team fight, you want to have that Phantom Dancer instead.
Okay, we'll see how long ROCCAT's team fights will be. Woolite way on the front line. There's 3 members of Gambit just on the other side of that ridge. But to be fair, ROCCAT did have the support right behind Woolite. Take a look at the mini-map. Cabochard and Diamond near the top of the lane, top of the map rather. Jankos moving around. Finally, the pink ward goes down. It feels like ROCCAT want to get control of the river and the mid lane. Gambit are not giving it up just yet.
So ROCCAT needs to put wards on their flanks before they can start moving up
ROCCAT
here.
got
So
crabs.
yeah, that was one of the reasons they were fighting for this scuttler here in the river. But that's basically why you have double Sidestone, and at the same time you slowly move forward, place 2 wards. move forward a little bit more, place a few more wards. So you can always see Gambit. You can spot the fish, you can spot the Jarvan here, and then you can start setting up the sieges. But for now, ROCCAT has been fairly happy just waiting for next dragon spawning, waiting for the 2-item spike on Azir and Xerath being completed, and of course the Graves, before they really feel like, okay, now is our time to group. Because they don't have the Corki, obviously. If they had, they would have grouped a lot earlier and start pushing down onto tier 2 turrets.
And of course, if any team is going to fight around dragons, it's going to be Gambit. They've always been dragon focused, regardless of who's on the roster and how many years you go back. Yesterday, they actually lost a game with the final nail in the coffin thanks to that. And we'll see how they handle this next dragon in 20 seconds.
And this is a very good setup by Gambit, getting in, placing a few pink wards here and taking full control around this dragon. Not allowing ROCCAT to do the same, so now Gambit can actually have a surprise factor from the flanks due to the pink wards they've placed. Let's see how Nick and Diamond want to try and engage this one. Other one starting the dragon, it seems, so it's still there.
Really quick to note, top laners have burned their ultimate. Overpower threw his Conquering Divide down. So we need to keep an eye on that. If a team fight breaks out, Overpower does not have it. Cabashard was able to hold on to his. So vision control for Gambit, positioning mostly in Gambit's control, but ROCCAT are tightly knit.
Yeah, no, ROCCAT, they don't want to move in towards this dragon here unless they know exactly where Diamond and Nick are. And again, the 2 pink wards on the top side, very smartly placed by Gambit. And also why ROCCAT decides to constantly move away from this dragon here. They try and force Gambit to go back and defend the mid lane, so it now opens up the dragon for ROCCAT to move in and clear these pink wards here. So they're trying to push it up, forcing Gambit to go back.
So let's see how far ROCCAT can push Gambit. ROCCAT continue to stay grouped up. They have Azir joining. The Sun Disc was put down on the mid-outer turret. ROCCAT now have territorial control of the mid lane. Question is, do they stick around to defend this?
Gambit forced away, pink ward being killed by ROCCAT here, making it a bit more safe for them, and can now place their own ward to see if Diamond is coming from there with his engage. There's another pink ward just in the bush where Pinoy is sitting, and that's going to be the next target for them if they can force Gambit away.
Let's take a look at the turret counter. Does the Azir turret still give a turret kill
yes,
on the scoreboard?
Believe.
So question to our fantasy guys, production, find me an answer. Do you get fantasy points for killing Azir turrets? I remember reading that on Reddit, but I didn't actually research what the final answer was. So we'll have to see. There you go, turret number 2.
All right.
For Gambit. I'm going to try to remember that now.
Second pink ward cleared for ROCCAT, instantly moving in towards this dragon here. No longer surprise factor coming in from Gambit, and you can now position yourself accordingly.
And thanks to the delay, ROCCAT also have Emperor's Divide available once more. That is Overpower's Azir ultimate. Dragon's going low. Smite Fight comes out, secured by ROCCAT. That is a massive cataclysm coming down for Diamond. Nyx in the background. Chum the Waters has already been used. That is a good ultimate from Overpower. Splitting up the members of Gambit. ROCCAT are in full retreat, tail between their legs. That's a knockup from Diamond. He holds ROCCAT in place and Nick re-engages. Vander goes down as the first victim of the fight before Nick makes a double portion of sushi. Now they're focusing down Nuclear as he tries to put the magic damage out. It's not enough. 2 for 1, and Dragon goes the way of ROCCAT.
And again, every time Gambit can actually get a proper engage here, they can win the fight still. But they lost the Dragon again. ROCCAT managed to set it up, cleared, tried to disengage. The first ulti from Diamond forced 3 flashes, and then second engage from him, resulting in some kills and a mid tower here. So Gambit, as long as they can get the engage in this mid game here with the Corki, with the Aurelia, they can get some kills.
So Gambit, despite being down in gold and losing the Dragons, they're winning the following fights. I've also been buzzed by production to confirm the Azir turrets do not count for fantasy points. So for all of you guys hoping that Gambit were going to get some bonus points, unfortunately it will not be the case. Thank you for confirming. So 6-6 in terms of kills, 3-2 in terms of actual turrets. As far as Gambit are concerned, and Gambit with that mid turret down now close the goal gap a little bit more. Whoop. Vander's gonna get nommed down by the shot that Nick throws out, and that was just all too easy. A very squishy Nami.
Yeah, Nick is getting very close to his hourglass here, which is going to be a very big spike for him on his fist here, because he has died quite a lot, but it's because he's chasing for these kills here and he's getting them. So trading kills for deaths on a fist is actually fairly worth.
And you sort of expected on that type of champion, because you're always on the front line. There's a lot of damage coming down from ROCCAT, but Nick's making it work. 4-4-1. Not only in Boots of Lucidity. Looking at some of the other items.
Lock it on the way for Diamond.
Yeah, looks like it's mirrored by Yankos. He's got himself closer. Can get the Mikhails in the hands of Vander. Ayed Shiv completed for Woolite, Triforce, as well as BF Sword picked up for Pinoy. Death Cap almost there for Nuke Duck. So a lot of big items on the way. Randuin's close for Cabo Shard. Hourglass close for Overpower. This is going to get even more explosive in the next few minutes. Vanda, very, very close to getting caught out, but luckily not too much damage from Gambit close by.
Gambit has really put a lot more focus on their warding in this game compared to what we saw at IM Cologne, what we saw yesterday. Really knowing here they need to be able to spot how ROCCAT is grouping and then set up the proper flank from their side. But for now, again, ROCCAT just waiting for these 2 items to be completed. You want the Death Cap, as you talked about, for Nuke Duck as well. Before we're going to see a potential next fight. And also actually sitting around just kind of waiting for these dragons to respawn. I mean, they have 2 now, so you have 15% more damage on turrets. But they don't feel like they're strong enough to siege at the moment, seeing as there is so much engage potential from Gambit.
Yeah, definitely the type of game that you were a little bit more expecting actually coming into the week. A lot more emphasis on dragons, trying to work towards the big sort of 5 dragon buff and then trying to win the game. We've actually not seen that in most of our games. A lot of the other games yesterday and today have been more centered around the towers. However, ROCCAT and Gambit making it very, very clear they want those dragon buffs, despite the fact that ROCCAT actually have the makings of a pretty good siege comp. In theory, despite not having the best AD carry for it, but ROCCAT made no attempt to get past that first outer turret towers.
No, they were happy just getting the outer turrets and then start focusing on dragons. And once again, warding their flanks, staying around this mid lane, but they haven't pushed them up, so they can't really move any further. Now they're grouping 5 members again. You have the double side stone, you have a pink ward on Nuke Duck. This is where you have to start placing them on the sides if you want to group on this mid turret and force a teleport from Cabo Shard. Problem is, Gambit is getting fairly tanky on their front line. Cabo Shard getting a Randuin's. Not my ideal first choice against the double AP coming in, but then again you want to have it against Woolad and you already have to lock it from Diamond in this case.
So ROCCAT finally grouping themselves up. They've got vision in the flanks, at least down this middle lane. Then they get some damage down into the turrets. See Overpower throwing his soldiers back in conjunction with the collateral damage from Woolite. And that's going to force Pinoy away from the tower. That's a lot of their safe wave clear. Actually, that's most of their wave clear now away from the turrets.
Problem is they haven't actually started any pushing this bottom side, and Cabo Shard is still pushing up. So as long as Gambit can keep ROCCAT here, they should be able to get a tower in the bottom lane, and Cabo Shard might even be able to push further. This one, however, is going to go down, and notice all the wards on the side here, spotting Nick, spotting Diamond as well, in case they want to try and engage.
So ROCCAT able to secure the tower eventually. Teleport coming out from Overpower. This defends the bottom inner turret. Cabo Shard at the very least forcing the resource to be used. But again, it's still advantage to ROCCAT. They've got an additional tower to their name.
Slow and steady.
-2 from Gambit's score, keep that in mind. Because there's a 2 Azir turret disc that have been taken out. Dragons up in 30 seconds, that's got to be where the next fight is. Let's see if both of these teams are going to prep. It was Gambit that had control last time, but lost it.
Yeah, so again, Gambit gets to go in here, place up all the wards they want. They do have at least 1 pink ward for Eddie. One already being placed, so nice little setup once again by Gambit. ROCCAT are allowing them to do it because they don't actually recall in time to come back to the Dragon. And Vando plays down a very important ward. He might die anyway.
So Nick decides not to pull the trigger. Was thinking about it, very seriously thinking about it, and then back.
Mula just recalled from the top end, so he's not here in case Gambit does decide to start it. But they're just forcing ROCCAT to face check them.
Jankos is gone.
And that's a trade-off. I mean, if you stay in the mid lane for such a long time, killing the tower, then backing away when there's 30 seconds on the Dragon and everyone goes back to base, it just allows for Gambit to go in and once again place all these pinks here and wait for you to face check them. Cabo Shard
Overpower's trying to become the Kazekage, throws Cabo Shard into the tower, chases him down, but simply does not have the beast support, and he gets taken out. Now Diamond's the man that's in trouble. Woolite got a good amount of damage down, but Diamond makes it out alive. And Overpower playing quite aggressive with that Azir, but not enough to pick up a kill into Cabo Shard.
No, very hard for him to actually kill him. Cabo Shard again, he is still getting fairly tanky, like we expected on Aurelio here. Get your Trinity Force, go full tank from down. He's going to need some more magic resist, however, against Nuke Duck and Overpower from this combo here.
So we've kind of hit this awkward stalemate at the moment. ROCCAT, very strong early game, got the first few dragons, sort of took control of the map, but lost fights after securing dragons. And now Gambit have found some global gold, close the gap just a little and appear to be more confident when it comes to the team fight engages. Yet, Gambit have not been pushing them up. So all outer towers are down, and it just feels like these teams only want to fight around Dragon.
So the reason Gambit has been pushing the map is because they're waiting for Nick to be strong enough to split push on his own. So you have Nick in one lane, you have obviously Cabochard in the different side lane, and then Pinoy just sitting on this Corky pick in the middle lane as the wave team is 1-3-1, where you then force ROCCAT to get away from their team fighting comp and go in these one-on-one situations, which will be in favor of Gambit and due to Nick being so strong once you get to the late game. And that's why Gambit has been happy just waiting for these objectives, set up a few wards and then try and get the engage through Diamond and Nick jumping in together and picking up a few kills on ROCCAT. And seeing as ROCCAT has only been able to pick up 4 towers so far, it's worked out okay for Gambit, but they still have to be careful because this siege comp with the correct wards on the flank can still take down the towers.
So let's see if ROCCAT can make it work. They've got decent vision in the red buff jungle of Gambit. They've got a good stack, and keep in mind, Nick is down in the bottom lane. ROCCAT are aware of this. They're putting some damage down. Gambit have secured the first tower, but it's ROCCAT the ones that are forced to back away. Advantage to Gambit as they secure their 4th actual tower of the game. 4-4. Pulling the gold to about 800, the difference. ROCCAT have still not backed away from top. They're just going to roll back and try chunk the tower. It looks like it. Gambit caught napping a little bit, maybe not expecting this, but ROCCAT are not committing.
No, due to the ping walls from Gambit in their own jungle here, ROCCAT doesn't feel safe enough. Just pushing it in, Nuke Dog as well has already recalled, so you don't really want any engage coming in, but it is going to be a slow game. Not as one-sided as the SK1 we saw earlier, where they were basically just waiting for Dragons, knowing that there was no chance of MYM actually killing them around it. This time around they're sharing the Dragons once again.
Yeah, look at the solo invade.
Gambit's been fairly happy just letting Nick kill himself, but at least get a kill every single time he did it, and he's getting stronger and stronger on this Fizz.
Second time Pinoy's been able to do that. Got the makings of his eye-edge, actually just completed it. 227 CS to the 284 that Woolite's Graves is putting down. eye-edge, BT, and Shiv. Death Cap in the hands of Nuke Duck, as well as the makings of that Void Staff, which has just been finished for Overpower, as well as his Hourglass. So take a look at those items. Some really big pickups all the way down the board. Nick also got himself that Hourglass. So his next fights are going to be even more explosive because there is really a whole lot of damage in both camps. And there's a whole lot of engage, to be fair. So whoever's caught out of position is just going to get minced.
Well, it could be Vander because once again Gambit has just set up around an objective. Baron this time around, there's no wards at all from ROCCAT, no response. And Woolite is sitting in the bottom lane, 32 minutes in. This is going to be a free Baron for Gambit.
Gambit have completely snuck this one. ROCCAT, we're talking about Gambit were the ones that a little bit behind, but in 32 minutes they just take a completely uncontested Baron buff. ROCCAT forced to back away with a giant whoopsie written across their foreheads. Now here comes the fight. Diamond throws down Cataclysm, instantly booted away. Cataclysm actually ends up helping ROCCAT stay alive. Cabochard re-engaged. Nick has been exhausted. He's been stunned. He's been dropped. First victim of the fight. Rest of ROCCAT trying to fight themselves through the fight. Emperor's Divide is going to put some space between them, but Woolite with an easy rundown gets 2 kills in favor of ROCCAT. Gambit get Baron, overcommit to a fight, and then lose it on 2 of their members.
And that was a very good spot to fight for ROCCAT here. In the jungle, you had your carry sitting around the tower as well. Nobody from Gambit could even dive towards it. This is Seed again, so they actually go in here, take a bit of poke on the way, but notice how they engage in this choke point here while Nuke Duck overpowers as well. They're sitting around their own tower, so you can never really dive onto them. Nick tries to do it. A stun lands from Nuke Duck. He cannot pop his Hourglass, ends up dying for it, and from here on and out, as soon as you get that fist down, and Gambit won't be able to really re-engage on you and knock you up, well, ROCCAT takes the fight.
Yeah, that Monsoon really did not do a whole lot from Edward. ROCCAT were able to win the team fight, punish the engage, or the re-engage rather, and also secure the inhibitor turret. So ROCCAT are the ones that are now sort of in control of the map. 30 seconds until the next Dragon. Baron still standing for Gambit, at least for a few of the members. Going to give them some options to play with, but just a little bit awkward, really. We looked at that team fight. So let's see how they handle themselves. Cataclysm is back up and available. No Monsoon. Just a few seconds until Tidal Wave and Collateral Damage are back up for ROCCAT. And we've seen teams fighting after Dragon over and over.
But
so
exactly the same again here. Gambit gets in here first, plays out a few wards, places their own now so they can see ROCCAT moving in towards the Dragon, get the engage they want, from the blind here and just try and kill someone in the back line. There's a ward though on the Dragon here from Rocket this time around, and Cabochard will have to teleport down if he wants to join.
So they got some decent damage onto Edward, but right to the arcane has been used by Nukeduck. There's the teleport from Cabochard. Knock up from Diamond. Here comes the tidal wave out of Vanda. Rocket are looking for the fight. That was a good split. Collateral damage goes a little wide. Eddie's the first victim of the fight. Emperor's Divide is still available. Let's see what Overpower can do. There's a re-engage from Diamond via his son, landing onto Nick in the background. The Divide splits Gambit up. We see Jankos getting a kill. Overpower lands a kill onto Pinoy. It's only Nick left, but he's low. He gets shut down. We see Cabochard running away. And ROCCAT, with a convincing teamfight win, they're barreling for the inhibitor.
Yeah, not sure why Gambit decided to re-engage here. They already lost Edward and we're in a pretty bad position, and yet Diamond goes in, ends up dying for it. Nick tries to pick up a kill himself, and now inhibitor suddenly for ROCCAT.
15 seconds left on the clock. How greedy are ROCCAT? That's the question. They're going to stick around for a little while. 5 members up.
10
relying on Vanda. Cabochard's got a lot of HP, and Edward's going to get a knock-up onto Overpower. Monsoon's going to slow the pace, but Cabochard's the focus. Overpower, again, trying to just channel those soldiers. They get a turret. Light's left a little bit to his own devices, but Mikhails gets him out. And ROCCAT, actually with a fairly calculated move, secure the Nexus turret.
Go straight for Dragon as well.
And going to go for Drake.
Yeah, straight down to Dragon, pick that one up. 3 of them now on the board for him. So that was again second one teamfight in a row for ROCCAT here, and Gambit trying a little bit too hard to engage us right in front of ROCCAT and their team comp here, so they're able to basically disengage at first and then turn around and just kill whoever is in the front line from Gambit.
Good, strong plays from ROCCAT. 3 out of 4 and extend that gold lead once again. Gambit now playing from behind. Chasing quite deep into ROCCAT territory. Diamond's near the mid lane, the rest of the team chasing. Let's see how far they commit. Overpower gets chunked, but returns some damage himself. And Gambit now find themselves on the back foot. They've got super minis in the middle lane. Pinoy with his 3rd stolen red buff. But truthfully, questionable team fights from Gambit.
Yeah, and you don't really want to push up here against Azir and Azero. Should be able to wave play it for ROCCAT, force Gambit away very easily. You have to go over to the split push now. You have to use the Fist. He can one-on-one anyone. You have to use Cabochard as well. At least stand toe-to-toe with Overpower. So whoever is going down against Nick will end up dying or be in a very bad spot. You cannot keep just straight up engaging the fights here from Gambit's side. That's why they've lost the last 2. And ROCCAT has just been able to, from barely doing anything the last 10 minutes, 2 quick fights and inhibitors as well. And whoa, that's a pick on Vander.
That's right, Deficio, that is a pick on Vanda. He just gets melted. Chum the Waters, Cataclysm, and the Transcendent Blades thrown in there for good measure. But let's see, what does it equate to? What do they get? They get a kill. Now there's the fight. Ultimates have been used. Diamond should be the first one to go down. He does. Woolite manages to survive for a while before Cabochard takes him out. Now the re-engage from Overpower. He's going to slide through with those shifting sands. Snipe comes down. 1, 2. Will the 3rd get any more? That's the question. Well, it had already been fired. That was the 3rd and final shot. 2 for 2. Keep in mind that Vanda had gone down earlier, so that was a 1 for 2 re-engage. Gambit again with the team fights or the engages. They blew everything on Vanda and then still stuck around for a fight and just kind of went a bit backwards, even though they got Woolite.
Just a little bit too forced for them here. Baron is spawning in 125. That's going to be their next goal for Gambit. If they can get down once again and actually establish the vision control, get that Baron picked up, and then use these super minions to really start split pushing. Don't go this 5 versus 5 at the moment, and definitely not try and siege down a tower. You have no chance of killing it with so much wave turn inside of ROCCAT.
Well, if there was one thing that ROCCAT really needed to work on last year, it was closing games out. When they were in the lead, despite their pretty good win-loss records, you know, it was 55-60% and above, they tended to struggle in the late game decision making and actually finishing matches. They've replaced Nukeduck.
Pinoy again, waiting around.
Let's see what they can do. Pinoy should be able to get Vanda. Exhaust goes out. Bubble does not connect, and Vanda just gets shut down. An easy kill for Pinoy.
Pinoy is one of the only AD carries who's going to sit in the bush 38 minutes into the game and just wait. All alone, and then a poor little support walks by and Pinoy just kills him. I mean, nobody expects the AD carry to sit there.
Nobody, least of all Vanda. But he's 4-1-4. Pinoy's Corki doing okay. He's quite far behind in terms of damage items, if you contrast it to the BT, the Last Whisper, Eye Edge, and the Shiv. He's not irrelevant. Nick, with the help of the rest of Gambit, starting to invade. The Vision game is playing. 5 seconds till Baron, and that has to be where teams are sort of setting their eyesights.
Gambit needs to get this Baron here. They're actually engaging on Woolite in mid lane.
Oh, Woolite's been caught out. Can he get away? Exhaust is down, forced to flash. He's the first victim. Now they turn their attention to Yankos. No CC locks him up, so he's able to safeguard. Flashes away from the knockup. That means Diamond is unable to chase. So Gambit find themselves into the kill. They commit a lot of resources. What does it equal? Gambit have not been able to get objectives previously, but they're thinking about Baron. Look at minions. ROCCAT have got them pushing top and bottom. Let's see what Gambit can do.
Well, let's see what ROCCAT can do to defend it. Dodging the fish, first of all, from Nuke Duck. Very important. Managed to actually get Gambit off the Baron here and a lot of damage on Peanut. That should be enough.
Look for the snipe right to the arcane. 1 and 2. The shifting sands is going to connect. It's so close. Pinoy survives. ROCCAT turn it around. Yankos safeguard. Sonic Wave misses. He's going to look. Remember, no flash. Dragon's Rage. Roundhouse kick to the face. There's the Emperor's Divide. Now Diamond's in trouble. Nick is going to jump in. 2-man bubble lands from Vander, but Overpower is going to survive. Mikhail's Crucible plus heal, I think that was, going to keep him up. And he picks up the kill. ROCCAT playing these team fights exquisitely and punishing Gambit.
Yeah, and we just see the late game damage from Azir here. It's disgusting to look at. Just 2 soldiers hitting 2 targets. Both of them drop instantly low. Finish up Edward here and continue for ROCCAT. Every time there is a potential fight, they win it. It's been the same for the last 10-15 minutes here, pushing up for another inhibitor.
30 seconds on the clock to get this inhibitor down. Diamond and Cabochard need to defend the objective wisely. Backing away, not going to look for the contest. Woolite's going to be joining the party in a moment. Get the assist credit, and the rest of ROCCAT can back away. Baron is live. Dragon's up in 40 seconds. Vision, somewhat lacking for ROCCAT. Let's see where they decide to set their sights and what they want to actually secure. But now it is ROCCAT that's once again in control of the game. And it looks like they've started battle.
Nick is just respawned, obviously no teleport for him, so he won't be able to join this fight. It's gonna be just 4 guys from Gambit trying to defend this one, and it's already dead, no chance. Overpower even just knocking Diamond away here if he tried to flag and drag over the wall. Smart little use of his ulti. And this is so important for ROCCAT, because now they are dictating it, they can force a team fight as well. No split pushing coming in from Gambit, because you can buff up your super minions, and everyone is forced to go back and defend. Gambit, however, this is gonna be another red steal.
ROCCAT find themselves 5,000, sorry, let's do the math again, 7,000 gold in the lead. They've got item advantages pretty much across the board.
Oh, they're waiting for Woolite.
And Pinoy's chilling in the bush. There's a lot of wards here.
Oh, I didn't see the pink, he did.
Oh,
Okay,
he did.
that might have saved his life.
Let's see what happens. Knockup doesn't connect. We do see the smite coming down. Woolite tries to get away. Not going to be enough. First victim of the fight. Now right to the arcane. 1, 2, 3. Not going to kill Diamond, but the soldier just might. It doesn't this time. Diamond gets out. So again, Gambit find or prove they can get a pick. This time it'll actually lead to an objective. That's the first in a while. And that'll be the second dragon of the game for Gambit. But you've got to wonder, is it really enough against super minions in the mid lane and empowered minions in every other lane?
Well, it's enough to delay ROCCAT here and make this Baron buff disappear before they can really do anything with it. Just because they get that one pick and Woolite. And again, you don't expect anyone... Pinoy obviously stealing the red buff, but you don't expect anyone to stand there right now. You just pick up the Baron, you should be in control of your own jungle, and suddenly 3 guys just come from behind and kill you.
That's got to be some sort of record for solo red buff steals.
For an 80 carry.
For an 80 carry, because, you know, Pinoy's really been uncontested. Found his push, gonna be chilling. Let's see, he did this yesterday as well. Let's see if we can actually find anybody to kill. Overpower, 404 on this is here. Has actually had a pretty good game. ROCCAT able to secure the top tower, so that's their 7th of the game. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gambit have only done 4 towers, if my math is correct. The outers, both on the bottom lane. At the end of the day, as you so rightly said, Deficio, the dragon and the kill onto Woolite has stalled out ROCCAT's Baron buff. They've been unable to play the rest of the map, with the exception of that top tower. Yankos has decided to contest with his red buff, but he doesn't have a lot of support yet. Look at the mini-map. Here comes Woolite from behind. Smite did go the way of Yankos, I believe. Just managed to secure that. Another denial from Gambit, but keep in mind, ROCCAT have lost a bunch of them.
Yeah, you're kind of just trading red buff here. It's okay. I mean, you give yours, Pinoy, and then Yankos gets his own on the top side. And now finally ROCCAT with this Baron buff, which is almost gone, have finally managed to group up. No more sneaky plays by Diamond here. Now you just run 5 together, ward your flanks, don't get caught out.
Look at mixed positioning. Diamond
that's
comes in,
getting caught
gets a
out.
two-man knockup. Tidal Wave's going to be splitting up Gambit. Look for Emperor's Divide to break Gambit's lines. He does go to the side, but it's Nick that's caught out of position. Diamond's down, Nick's down. ROCCAT 5v3 should be able to secure the inhibitor turret and more. Gonna carry on chasing it. Baron has now worn out. They're onto the top inhibitor. Super Minions about to get to the steps of Gambit. ROCCAT, how much do they want? One Nexus turret remaining. They're setting their sights on it. Edward's doing the best he can to defend. And in the background, Pinoy caught up, putting damage onto Walleye. Cabashot is the focus. Snipe 1, Snipe 2, Snipe 3. Cabashot survives. ROCCAT, get the Nexus turret. ROCCAT, turn to the Nexus. This will be game. And ROCCAT are on the board in the spring split. 1-1. After a interesting game. Swings back and forth, but ROCCAT are the ones that close it out.
Very slow-paced game here, but ROCCAT from the start get the 3 outer turrets down here with their very, very strong siege they have. And once they got those towers down, got a bit of a lead, this decided, okay, let's just wait for late game. Let's get enough items on our carries here, so Gambit won't be able to just straight up team fight us here. Wait for their Relia power spike to end. Wait for the Corki power spike to end. That did buy time for Gambit. And there was some mistakes from ROCCAT here where they allowed Gambit to set up before Dragon here and get a few picks left and right. He got caught out a few times as well, which kept Gambit in the game. But to be honest, looking at Gambit's side here, once they actually got back and they had Nick getting a lot of kills, Pinoy was very strong. They didn't manage to use it because they just kept trying to run headfirst into ROCCAT here for these team fights. Didn't try and use the 1-3-1 split push. Split them up here. How is the Zeref going to defend one-on-one against a late game Fizz? That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but Gambit have never really been a team that have demonstrated that style of play. And it's something that I think they need to explore and practice if they want to try and shake things up. Because again, it was just really Dragon-centric, Dragon-focused. Pinoy did some decent red buff steals and controls. But it's a little bit of an awkward game if you look at it in the bigger picture. ROCCAT won the early game quite convincingly. Gambit dug deep in the mid game and then overcommitted near the late. But there were swings in control throughout.
Yeah, it was very safe play by ROCCAT. Again, once they got the lead early on where they knew they were stronger and could start grouping early with the lack of wave clear from Gambit, they just said, you know what, in this mid-game part, we're not going to fight. We're just going to wait around. Again, wait for the Corgi, wait for the Aurelia to become weaker and weaker going into late. And we saw overpower as well on Azir. Once you get to late game, 3 or 4 items. I mean, put up 2 soldiers, and if like an 80 carry is standing near, you just kill him in a matter of seconds. So as soon as we got to that late game point, ROCCAT were controlling the team fights. And that's where Gambit just failed to adapt to it. And that's why ROCCAT now wins the game, even though there was some tricky plays by Pinoy and like Gambit itself hiding in a few bushes where you wouldn't expect them to be. Bought them some time, but it really wasn't enough for them to really get the lead back and actually win the game.
Yeah, and definitely the 2 junglers that are doing things a little differently, the Lee Sin into Jarvan, seeing that Skirmisher Saber, and then actually seeing Diamond on Jarvan changing from was it Chilling Smite first to the Skirmishers. It's something that I think we should keep our eyes on and try to track what and when and why they're doing it, because I haven't seen anybody else doing that yet. But then again, 5.1, I do believe we're the first region that's running it. So we need to keep our eyes on how every other region adapts to the new patch and to some of the changes.
And also if other regions still want to play Corki, because this was the first time we really got to see him played by Pinoy, and because we didn't really get to see too much of the laning phase, it was the one-on-one against Overpower.
Yeah.
We never really saw the changes.
It's not really fair, is it?
To his W, no. So it didn't really tell us too much about the Corki pick here on 5.1, where it has been picked a lot less compared to 4.21.
Completely. But then again, Europe as a region has trended away from other regions' popular AD carries.
Very
so,
true.
you know, we need to keep track of that. Graves still far and away probably the most favorite out of the 8 games we've seen. And
Nar as well, Lissandra wasn't picked in this game, so we do have some of our own picks, and we have a lot of teamfight focus comps coming in. So another reason, like the Corki, we have seen him a lot in like Siege comp, Corki Zeref together. You have this 20-minute power spike where you just start wrecking down towers. We don't really see that too much. This was the first time we really saw Siege comp in action, and that was from ROCCAT with obviously Azir and Zeref.
Much.
Well, they didn't to start when they got the outer turrets down, and then obviously later on when they felt confident enough, they actually pushed on further and could really take down these towers easily.
Big picture, 45 minutes. Didn't really
play it safe. I mean, there was a good mid-game for Gambit, so no reason to take a chance. You lost yesterday. You want to get your first win.
Yeah.
That's why they play like
I think that's a good point to bring up, is that both of these teams had very heavy losses yesterday.
Yeah.
And today, this was not a convincing win, not by any stretch of the imagination. But it's got to be important for ROCCAT, a team that had these massive slumps in confidence last year. So we'll need to see how this does actually affect ROCCAT, both them and Gambit, looking to come back stronger next week. For the moment, let's send things over to the analyst desk where Shox and Crepo are going to take a closer look at that game.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. We're here with ROCCAT's newcomer, Nukeduck, and longtime support Vander to talk about that win over Gambit. Welcome, gentlemen, and congratulations on that win. What did you guys identify yesterday as the biggest problem versus SK Gaming, and how did you rectify that today, Vander?
So we played really passive in this game. Like we could go for really much more fights and do much more on the map, and also we didn't know what they're gonna do. Like one time we thought they're gonna go top, and we put our resources top lane, and they go bot lane, and we like Ulai died, and we lost the tower. So I think they just outplayed us on the map overall. And also they did a really good lane swap with Gnar level 2 instantly teleport bottom. So it gave them a big edge early game.
It did. Nukeduck, how was it adjusting yesterday? Were there maybe some jitters coming back into the LCS, and how did it go for you today?
It went okay, I would say. We won the game, but I didn't play that much better than yesterday, honestly. We just played better as a team and realized we shouldn't fight that much for the early dragons. We should just try to scale more with the Azir and the Serath to the point where Irelia and Corki gets pretty useless.
Well, in the beginning, you guys were doing very well, and especially compliments to you, Vander. Let's actually get that replay up on the screen. We put a little highlight reel together because you went for that Nami pick. You stuck with it when not that many people are anymore, and you did very well. Let's just roll it out because he's doing very well in that one. There we go. You can comment on your mad skills.
So what are you doing here, Vander?
Just go see Rhea going in, and I knew we're gonna win 2v2. And here I just know the shield is still on cooldown, so I just flash in and easy kill, you know?
Yeah, you had a couple of really good bubbles, because I even thought Edward stated one time that...
he was like, or we hit a bubble and dive, or we miss a bubble and we go for tower, but yeah. I hit the bubble within 2 people, I thought I will catch only Janna.
Was this a predict on Valkyrie?
Oh, this was predicted Valkyrie.
Predicted Valkyrie. Oh well, easy game, easy life.
Nice.
And then yeah, you guys got ahead there, but then your composition was all around like sieging and scaling into the late game, while they had like more split push. I just want to put on one replay here for you guys. The second dragon that you guys got, you actually rotated mid, put an Azir turret down, but then ended up going back to that dragon. Do you think this was a mistake going for this dragon, and you guys should have just like sieged mid because your comp is way better at sieging, and they kind of caught you guys off guard, or what are your thoughts? And we can roll the clip in the middle.
Yeah, let's watch the clip first.
So you end up getting the dragons with a good smite, but this is like Gambit just like see hero, kill hero. They're basically diving in and they picking up a couple of kills.
Overall, like here in the game, we were confused. Should we go mid or Drake? We chose Drake, and then really good engage from Diamond here. And like our composition is not that good yet. Like Fizz can kill us really easy, so we shouldn't go for this fight, knowing that Xerath and Azir will be just much better late game than their solo lanes.
Yeah, I did feel it was probably
I think it was our mistake.
Yeah, we could also have gotten out there. Like we kind of out-rotated them. We got actually a free dragon, but then we thought we could fight if they would commit that hard. But yeah,
was maybe a little bit too early.
Split a bit also in this fight.
Yeah.
But we have another replay coming up showing, like, as you guys are saying, like if you just wait a little longer, get a little stronger, that you can pretty much blow up the Fizz when he comes in. I think this is basically an Augur Dragon. Yeah, if you can roll the clip immediately, we'll see that actually ends up happening what they're saying. Gambit now wants to do the dragon. Instead, you guys are waiting at the side and poking, and you're basically using your disengage really well. Nukeduck, what's going on in this fight? What are you looking for?
I'm just looking for the Fizz and the Jarvan and try to kill them when they come in, but at the same time stay alive. So yeah, hey everyone.
So everything we have to do is just kite them in the team fight.
And Fizz E-flashes in.
I even hit the bubble on Corki here.
Jesus
of
Christ,
course.
It's almost like you get paid to play this game, man. No, you guys played really well, and then you could really see that this composition really scaled well into the late game, and then once you guys group up, they have so much wave clear, so much poke. Is this a comp you guys trained a lot, or is it specific against Gambit?
It's more like Overpower is really good on Azir, and he's really strong right now, so we just let him pick Azir, and then we kind of pick a bit around that.
Nukeduck, you of course re-entered the LCS here, and there's a lot of talent in the mid lane. How high do you think you can go in the standings? How do you personally think you can go with this team? I feel like the synergy, as you mentioned, you just trust Overpower to pick what he wants to pick and kind of adapt, so that's a good sign.
I think I can do very well. I'm not really scared to face any of the other mid laners. I think I will do really well.
All right, Vander, final question. We saw Janko saying in a video before that we want to be top 3, everything else would be a disappointment, which is different because at last year in the beginning you guys would often say, you know what, we'll see where we'll get. Is that a clear change in a standpoint from your side?
Yeah, it's a different mindset than last year. Like, we were newcomers, so we didn't expect that much from the competition, but still I think we did pretty good job and we had a chance to be top 3. And now we changed some people on the team, and it would be a waste if we wouldn't get a good spot, right?
Yeah, good to see you guys in that mindset. Congratulations on that victory here
Thank
today.
you.
We're going to take a short cut through the base gate to be back in just 3.5 as Fnatic gears up to take on H2K Gaming.
It is time for ROCCAT versus Gambit.
Whoa,
Nukeduck is in so much trouble. He is going to flash, but look at ROCCAT. They've come to his aid. He gets the slowdown. Nukeduck is burning. He's still alive. He goes down finally. Bubble goes up from Bandit, does not manage to connect, and the tidal wave's already been used. Cataclysm slam dunks the fish, turns him into sushi. Jankos kicks Diamond back. ROCCAT are in full retreat, tail between their legs. That's a knockout from Diamond. He holds ROCCAT in place and Nick re-engages. Vander goes down as the first victim of the fight. Roundhouse kick to the face. There's the Emperor's Divide. Now Diamond's in trouble. Nick is going to jump in. Two-man bubble lands from Vander, but Overpower is going to survive.